Well, good afternoon. I've got 1 o'clock Eastern time on the dot. Let's see here. I want to make sure that um, everyone can see my screen here. All right. So again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you for joining me today. This is our monthly merchant training. My name is Cesar Rivas, and I am the sales executive for Sound Payments. Maybe you've met me before during a demo. Usually I'm the one who conducts those as well. But we wanted to kick off this month with a new feature or a new service, which is this merchant training, which is done as a group and it's for free. Just a few household items here. Housekeeping items I want to go ahead and mention. If you notice in Zoom, there's a section labeled chat. So please, any questions that you have throughout the presentation, throughout the actual training session, please feel free to write in there, and I will look at those at the end of the session. Perhaps some questions will be answered as I cover some of the material. We are going to break on the hour for about 5 minutes just to give everybody kind of a chance to rest, maybe go to the restroom and so forth. This is, again, as I said, this is the first of its kind free monthly session that we're going to be offering. So it could be up to 3 hours. It could be shorter as well. I think it depends on how many questions we get. There's a lot of material I'm going to be covering today, so it definitely will be over an hour. I can almost be sure of that. Now, this session will be recorded, and it's going to be posted to our YouTube channel. There are many other resources that you're going to find available on that YouTube channel, but you'll be able to see this training session in case you want to review any of the material that we've covered. All right. And the purpose of this session is really to learn the operation of the Sound POS, not so much to configure or set up, even though I am going to cover some of that material to kind of get things going, and definitely not something meant to troubleshoot the system. Okay, like I said, it's more than anything, the functionality, how to operate the POS, and I will be covering some of the configuration parameters as well. All right. So I want to share with you first and foremost some of the available resources that are available to our merchants. We got, of course, 24/7 tech support. You can call that any day of the week. The numbers are on the screen, 888-263-5661. Very knowledgeable in case you're having any difficulties with the Sound POS terminal, something's not working and so forth. You'll be able to contact them on the phone line. We also have an email address, okay, support@soundpayments.com. You can write them and pretty promptly they should be able to respond and fix or address whatever concerns you may have. And then, of course, there is a Sound POS user guide. We're going to go ahead and get that to everybody who's on the call, and some of you may have already received it as part of a welcome package when you acquire the terminal. All right. We do offer individualized training. All right. You can also schedule that on our website. You go to soundpayments.com and you go to the POS section. You'll see that there's a section there to schedule also your individualized training. And of course, these have to go through your representative. Okay. And then these sessions, which are the monthly group training, they're on the second Wednesday of every month at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I've got the dates for the remainder of the year up on the screen. So as you can see, we got today and then all the way through December. Okay, so a lot of resources for you to make sure that you're taking advantage of this solution and you're able to focus on running your business, and everything else with regards to inventory and sales can be managed through our POS system. All right. I wanted to cover the agenda. All right, I'm going to be going over the system components for the unit, and not just the actual terminal, but the system components as a whole, as far as your screen and so forth, and then any additional components that are going to form part of the Sound POS solution. As I mentioned, we are going to go over the initial configuration. I think it's important that everybody understands what needs to be prepared, even though we're not going to go through a full configuration, but at least you'll get a pretty clear idea on how to set everything up. Then we're going to go into some of the features themselves, the discounts and the pricing, and how you can establish that, how you can manage your customers' information. Okay, and a couple of functions that are built into the customers module as well. We'll talk about employee management as well. During the configuration, I'll talk about creating different roles but during the employee management section, I'll go more in depth. Then the broad range of reports, you've got some reports that are on the POS itself, on the terminal itself, and then you got some reports that are available on the online portal. We'll go over inventory management itself, how you can use some of the tools to increase inventory, adjust inventory, so forth. We'll talk about the printers and how you can print different orders to different printers if you do have some network printers attached. And then we'll go finally into the actual sales screen and look at all the functions there and how to operate or how to conduct the sale. All right. So again, any questions, any observations? I invite you to go to the chat section of the of Zoom and write them in there, and we'll see them at the end of the session then. All right. All right. So to start off, let's talk a little bit about the kind of the components of the terminal, right? You've got of course, your POS system, which has the user screen, and then you've got your payment terminal on the backside. That's the customer-facing terminal. You can attach to these terminals, of course, a cash register for any of the countertop units, and you can attach also a handheld scanner. These terminals, the ones that are on the countertop, they have plenty of USB ports to connect that type of a peripheral. And then, of course, we also have the web portal, which I am going to be sharing with you on the screen here. Let me just change screens here briefly. All right, I'm going to log in, and I apologize. I need to log in every once in a while because for security purposes, the system does lock you out. This is my own demo environment, so to speak. All right, so and then we're going to go into a store so we can do that initial setup, right? So the name of the store is going to be, should be blank store here. Let's see, it's on the second page. Let me just look for it here. Blank store. All right. All right. So this would be when you log into the store. Okay. Should be what you as a merchant would see. Okay. So again, this is just one of the resources that we have available for you, in addition to the actual hardware, the terminal itself. Okay. So with this web portal, you can do almost anything you would do on the terminal, with the exception of running a transaction and maybe a couple of other things. And a lot of the stuff that you do on the terminal or you do on the web portal. So we're going to be switching back and forth. Okay. I'm also going to share the screen of a live terminal. This is an E800 countertop unit. Okay. Let me go ahead and activate it. And again, I apologize that I may have to log in several times during the training session, because again, for security purposes, sometimes the system will kick me off. So let me go ahead and go into my E800, which is right here, and share the screen with you so you can see the live screen of the terminal. Okay. And as it does accept it here, let me just go ahead and accept it on the terminal, and then you'll be able to see the screen. Give me just 1 second while it comes up. Okay, come on. We have a pretty good internet connection here. There we go. I'm going to zoom in also on the screen, just so you can see it a bit better, in case you don't have a very big computer screen. And you'll find it maybe a little bit blurry, but trust me, on the terminal, it looks crystal clear. These terminals have a beautiful resolution. All right, so I'm gonna initiate Sound POS. This is something that you might see similar to this as you initiate your terminal. Okay, and I just want to have both of these available so that as we go through the initial setup, the initial configuration, I can show you where to find the particular item on both the terminal and the web portal, the store portal. All right. So here we go. It's kicking off. And I'm going to log in. And like I said, this is a full store. Okay. Let me go ahead and log in here. But for the web portal, we're going to be using a blank store so you can see some of the stuff to set up there. Okay. Yeah, I'm logging in as the admin. Perfect. Oh, sorry. Wrong password. 1 second here. And kind of went too fast in putting the password. Okay, there we go. All right, so the first section I want to cover is with regards to taxes. First thing, before you get started, you should set up your taxes. So we're going to show you where you can do that on the web portal. You go under configuration, you'll see tax right here. Now the taxes are made up of 2 components, and these are assigned at the individual product level, right? The first component is your tax rate, and you'll find that on the terminal. You'll find that if you go under inventory, okay, this is where you would have, again, your taxes and your tax categories. So just for the purposes of this training, You see where it's located, but pretty much it's the same principle as far as how you set that up. So let me go back to the web portal. Okay. And the first thing you want to do is set up your tax rates. Now you can create as many tax rates as you want, and you can label them anything you'd like. So let's say, for example, this tax number 1, I'm gonna label as a local sales tax. Okay. Oh, let me remove the uppercase. And I'm gonna assign a tax rate to that, right? So let's say that your local tax rate is 2.0. Okay. And I'm gonna save that local tax rate. Then, of course, you may have a state tax rate, which I'll assign tax 2 to that state tax rate. And again, let's go ahead and label it state tax rate, right? And let's say that that one is 1.75. Okay, and I'll save that one as well. And then finally, the third one, which will be your federal tax rate, your sales tax rate, right? So we'll go ahead and rename that. Okay. And we're gonna say that that one is 2.5. The Fed usually takes a little more. So you create your tax rates first and foremost. And again, you can do that here on the terminal. If you go into taxes, you'll be able to do pretty much the same thing. Okay. All right. Now, this is not going to coincide with what you saw because again, on the terminal, I do have a full functioning store that has all the items already programmed in there. All right. But just want to show you where it is. So once you program the tax rate, now you're going to go back and you're going to group those tax rates into a category. You can have more than one category. As a matter of fact, you can have unlimited categories. The default one is labeled tax standard. So you can choose, which one of these tax rates you're going to add. You can have, like I said, maybe an alcohol tax rate that only applies to alcoholic beverages, for example. So you can create another group, another tax category that says, tax, alcohol tax. And that includes your local, your state, your federal, and any type of an additional alcohol tax. And whatever you choose as default, if you don't specify a specific tax rate for an item, this is what it's going to fall under. You can also change what order you want to amend. You can actually choose whether you want to tax on the previous tax amount. All right, so we save and close it. And that would be how you set up your initial tax rate. All right, so that's an important item to set up as you get started with a POS. Next, I want to talk a little bit about how you can restrict access to the different functionalities on the POS. Okay. Fortunately, our POS allows you to create these different employee roles. Okay, where you can have somebody maybe who only has access to the sales functions, but not to the inventory functions. Somebody else who only has access to the inventory, but not the sales functions, and vice versa. Okay, so the first thing you do is create your user roles. And again, as I said previously, I'm going to show you where you access that on the terminal. Because again, you can do this function as well on a terminal. Make sure it does not lock me out. So we go to maintenance and you go to rules. All right. Now, again, this is a store that's fully configured. So you have the different roles on here. You can do it here where you got your basic sales functions or your additional back office functions, or you can do it on the web portal. Okay. Where you simply, we already have 2 roles created. The system will default with an administrator and an operator, just to show you where you've got kind of the same thing as you do on the terminal, as you can see on here. Okay, side by side, they're kind of the same. You got your register functions here, same thing as you would have on here as far as your back office. All right. Once you create the role and you name it whatever you want, okay, then you're going to go back again, either on the terminal and go to users, or on the store portal, you'll actually go to the users. And you can create a new user and so forth. All right. Now, let me show you on the terminal what the different users look like. Okay. Again, this is for an existing store. So I've got the administrator, front counter, and so forth. And you can modify these names. Now, one observation, you can see that there's a date of birth here for these users at this store. And it's because this is a convenience store which sells alcoholic beverages. So there's a requirement as far as how old someone has to be in order to sell anything that's restricted age. So that's why it asks for the date of birth. It's not a requirement if the store doesn't sell anything that's restricted by age. All of our terminals come with cameras, so you're even able to take a picture if you'd like of the employee. And as you can see, there's a barcode down here, which can be utilized to log in, okay, and clock in as well. And I'll talk about the clock in function in a minute. You can print it right from here, and it's going to print obviously on the thermal paper that's in the printer that's included with a terminal. Or you can go to the store portal, okay, and you can go to generate and download POS barcodes, and it's just a PDF file, which then you can maybe print on a label and stick it onto a badge. So that can be utilized so somebody will log in and clock in. And I make the distinction between login and clock in because it's a two-step process, right? You can log into the terminal and without clocking in, which means that your time card is not being kept, or you can log in and clock into the terminal. Now, when somebody logs into the terminal, okay, and they clock in, if another employee comes by and they need to clock in as well, it's not necessary for that individual to log off the terminal. They just have to activate the time card function, which is on the terminal itself, okay? And then you'll be able to export that into Excel, and you can even look at the time card details here. You wouldn't find anything right now, obviously, because this is a brand new store, and I have not done anything with that. So the other feature I wanted to mention is when you do create an actual employee, and we're gonna go back to maintenance here and go to the users, okay? You can actually choose to force the employee to clock in. So it's up to you, the owner to say, all right, this individual employee for this role that they have for the company, for the store, they need to actually clock in every time they log in. And when you do that, every time you log in, the system's going to ask them to clock in as well. All right. Up next, I want to talk a little bit about the receipt configuration. So our system, Sound POS, allows you to customize the receipt to include a lot of personal information. And I mean personal, I mean for the store itself, okay? You can do it on the terminal again. If you go to settings, okay? And then you go to receipt setup, you can actually set up your receipt here. Now this is fully configured, okay? You can even put a logo on there, as you can see. But I always recommend to do it better on the actual web portal. And the reason why, the primary reason for that is that, let's see here, POS configuration, and then you've got receipt. If you want to upload a logo, it's just a little easier to do it here. You can choose what headers you want to put on here, as many headers as you want, as many footers as you want, your barcode if you want it on there, if you want to be able to send an email. Our system supports sending emails. And when we do send an email for a receipt, we don't send a link. We actually send a PDF file, okay? Also, depending on how you're going to handle the tips, our system does support the customer choosing the tip on the screen, on the payment screen. So if that's the case, then you would probably disable the tip line since they don't have to add anything on their paper receipt. But if you want them to actually write it on the receipt, then you would enable that and do the adjustment at the end of the day. You can choose how many copies are printed, the spacing, font size, and so forth. All right, so again, a lot of customization that's available on the system. Okay, let me go ahead and get out of here. Another area that I think it's important is how do you upload your products? Okay, it's known as your product catalog, right? You can do it in the system under inventory. You can do one by one. Okay, go to products and you can add products there. Again, you're going to see a list of products here that's already been configured for this store. Or you can do it on the web portal, which I feel is easier. We give you the option to do it on the terminal so that if you don't have a computer nearby, then you'll be able to actually do it on the terminal as well. Even when you're doing a sales, an actual transaction, you can do it there as well. It allows you to do a quick addition of the inventory. But I think the best place to do it is on the web portal. All right, and you got different things to cover. So this is where you would do your products. You add your products on here. You just add new, and then you got all these different areas. You got your identifiers here. You can create categories for your product, so it's a little easier to navigate, especially if you're not going to use a handheld scanner. It has the ability to store their SKU barcode. It even has a second field for the barcode. You can also activate the sell by weight. All right, so it allows you to input whatever unit you choose, so ounces, pounds, whatever that may be. And you can even do, fractional. So if you sell by pound, but this client took 0.25 pounds, it's actually going to deduct 0.25 from the inventory. And to be honest with you, you can put any unit on here. The system doesn't distinguish. You can put, ounces, pounds, inches, quarts, cups, whatever you want, and it's just going to calculate it that way. The system also allows you to choose whether you want an item to show on the menu. So maybe something that's that you don't sell, like an ingredient, we call it a modifier. Maybe you don't want to show it on the menu. And also it allows you to disable an item from the menu without having to delete it. So let's say you run out of something, okay? You're out of stock for a specific product and you don't want it to show on the menu just to avoid any confusions, you disable it there. The system also does support EBT payment and at the individual product level. So you can choose which items are, EBT accessible and which ones are not. Then you get your section here for pricing. So your price, what it costs you, and then the system will calculate your profit and your gross margin. Okay, so let's say something costs, or you sell for $5, but it costs us $2. You add your tax, and then it tells you what your gross margin and your profit is for that. Okay, and you can also choose if it's something tax exempt. You can also do tax exempt at the moment of sale, and we'll go over that when I get to that section. You have several ways in which you can maintain or track inventory. So you can track inventory by the item. You put in here how many of those items you got on there. And then you can set a threshold so that a low inventory report will alert you every day. You can print it out in the morning or at the end of the day. Any item that goes below the threshold that you establish will be listed on that report. But you also have other ways of maintaining or keeping track of inventory. So what's known as attributes. Now, attributes are unique modifiers. And what I mean by that is that you can only choose one. So for example, you can have a size. A shirt is going to be either small or it's going to be medium or it's going to be large. It's not going to be small and large, right? So that could be an attribute. So you can have a single product listed for the shirt, but when you choose that shirt, then it's going to give you different options for the different sizes as well, okay? You can even do more than one attribute combined. So you can have size and color, for example. So this way you can keep track of, how many red small shirts you've got, how many yellow small shirts you have, and so forth. The system supports that as well. There's another way also to keep track of the of inventory, which is known as the modifiers, which that's known as ingredients. So for example, in this store that I have on the terminal, I sell hot dogs, right? But hot dogs don't come packaged together. They're separate. So I actually keep track of the bun and the sausage, and I add them to the hot dog every time somebody orders a hot dog. This way I know when I need to order sausages or when I need to order buns, okay? Or you can just not keep track of the item altogether, okay? You choose do not track inventory, and that works as well. In this section also is where you actually create the modifiers. So for example, this could be ketchup, and you say, hey, it's a modifier. Or if you want, you can choose individual modifiers here. And our system even allows you to group your modifiers to make it easier. So for example, you can have, hot dog toppings or ice cream toppings or additional hot dog toppings or additional ice cream toppings. And it automatically will add whatever modifiers you've assigned to that group, okay? Our system does support network printers. So you can set up, additional printers like for the kitchen or anything like that. And assign it at the individual product level. So maybe for a convenience store, the hot dog will go to the kitchen printer, but maybe the chips will not, or maybe the soft drink will not, okay, or maybe a shirt will not, depending on the type of merchandise. All right. So this is your first page for your products. Let me just put something on here so I can save it and continue. All right. And you see it adds two more tabs. You can actually add pictures to your products, and these are going to be viewable by the sales clerk, not by the customer. Okay, just make sure that they're not very high resolution. And then this is where you would assign your attributes. Okay, so I can have, for example, shirt size, and then shirt color, and then I can have small, medium, large, yellow, red, black, and then I can add a combination of small with black, small with yellow, small with red, whatever that may be, and keep track of the inventory here. So it tells you stock quantity. You'll even see that within the attribute inventory tracking, you also have the ability to set a minimum amount of thresholds so that also that low stock report is populated there. All right. All right. So that's with regards to products. I'll just delete this one and leave it blank. All right. Then you've got the categories also listed under here. And a couple of things with regards to categories. Let's go ahead and add a new category on here. All right, so the name of the store, obviously, whatever name you wanna set. Okay, so food or drinks, whatever you want, okay? You can assign the printer at the category level as well, but again, this will be modifiable at the individual product level, all right? Now, if you have a type of business that maybe pays out like lottery winnings and things like that, you can create a category specifically for paying out lottery winnings. Or if you also have a store that receives cash for, I don't know, maybe check cashing or something like that, you can create a pay-in category as well. This way, when you execute your pay-in or pay-out, you're able to choose a specific category. And at the end of the month or the end of the week, however often you look at your transactions, you can actually see what category, what went out with lotteries and things like that, okay? Also, if you have, especially a convenience store, and sometimes you receive new inventory, but you're not able to add it because it comes in and you've already opened and you've got customers that are waiting to buy that inventory, you can actually establish this category so that when you do a manual entry, the category will appear there, and that item, which still is not part of your inventory, will actually have a category. So when you pull up your sales report, even for the manual entry items, we'll also be able to organize them by category. Okay. All right. So that would be on the category side. We've also added a feature so that whenever you run a refund, you can choose a reason category for that. Okay. So for example, you can have, item was broken. You can have, customer didn't like, missing parts, whatever you want. You can actually set a category specifically for a refund, okay? Now, I mentioned before that you can actually group your modifiers. So if you have, your hot dog toppings, you can have your ketchup, mayo, and so forth. You just need to create those before you try to group them, because obviously you have to click on choose, and whatever modifiers on the system is what you're going to be able to choose from. And then again, when you choose a product that needs a group of modifiers, it's a lot easier to just choose that modifier group that you've identified instead of trying to choose each item by item. All right. And then finally is where you will create your initial product attributes. And what I mean by this is, let's say for the shirt, you create an attribute called shirt size, but then within the shirt itself, when you create the attribute shirt size, you create the values of small, medium, and large. Okay. Or you can create a second attribute called shirt color. And then again, within that attribute, within the product, you'll create for the shirt color attribute, yellow, blue, red, whatever that may be. And then, as I said before, you can even create combinations of those attributes based on the size and the color, and assign your inventory values to those as well. Okay. All right. So up next, I wanted to talk a little bit about your additional printers. You can add printers in two places, right? You can actually add printers here if you go to settings on the terminal. Okay. And you go to printer setup. You can add a printer here. Okay. This one already, for this store in particular, I already have a kitchen printer that's added. Okay. And usually the port is 9100. Now, these are network printers, which means that they don't attach to the terminal. They attach to whatever network device you have. And by that, I mean a router, for example. They can be, a wired, they can be wireless. The only requirement for a printer to work with our system is that it utilizes the Epson printing protocols. As long as the printer, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be Epson. As long as the printer utilizes Epson printing protocols, you should be good to go. What I recommend is, because it's going to be set up on a network, you should be able to connect a computer to that same network. Test if the computer is able to print on the printer. If it's not, then it hasn't been set up appropriately. Okay. And you have to make sure that it first prints on the computer, just ensure that it does work appropriately. Okay. You can also set up the printer on the store portal itself. Okay. And I think I showed you that a little bit earlier here. When you go to POS and then the POS configuration, you have the ability to add the printers here. Okay. Built-in printer, network printer, whatever that may be. All right. Couple more things I want to discuss here. So payment methods. Okay. Again, you have a couple of ways in which you can configure your payment methods. On the terminal, it's going to be under the same settings function that we set up the printers. It's going to be here under pay method. Okay. But in order for any of these methods to be available, they first have to be made available in the web portal in your initial configuration. Okay. And that you're going to do right here where you go to the POS configuration, payment method. Okay. You got to make sure that you set whatever, payment method you want. So for example, Maybe you want to set up a credit card payment, right? So you go to edit and you make sure you set it as active. Okay. Okay. Maybe you also want to set up debit payment ability. You go to edit, you make it active. Now there's a couple of other options on here that you can set up. Okay. And what I mean by that, obviously, maybe EBT. Before you're setting up EBT, before you're setting up checks, you have to actually go into the store settings themselves and enable that, because that's more of a restrictive type of a setting, right? You go to store settings and you edit, and you go to EBT. It's going to tell you have to comply with whatever requirements, okay? And you go to check, and you save that, all right? Now, the system offers you a couple of other things, all right? First thing is the ability to do loyalty. And our loyalty function is based on points, okay? So you can actually establish how many points are generated by purchase, right? So, for example, each, I don't know, $1 generates 1 point, or 10 points, or 5 points, whatever you want. And then you have to say, all right, so how many points are required for a purchase? For example, you can say, all right, let's say that you need 1 point will be worth 10 cents. That would be a 10-to-1 ratio. Or you can say even, 100-to-1. All right, each point will be worth 1 cent. So if somebody spends, $100 and they earn 100 points, they're going to have $1 available for expenditure. So once you set up these two things, right, the EBT and check and loyalty, now you can go back to your payment configuration here and enable those, okay? And then you can go to the terminal itself and enable those as well, right? So you go to pay method now, you say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and enable loyalty, okay? Make it active. All right, I'm going to go ahead and enable EBT, okay? Make it active. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and enable checks. Okay, so these are the only three that you would need to make sure that you've enabled in the back office in your settings for you to be able to enable it under the payment methods here. And then when you go to the terminal itself, sometimes they're going to be unchecked at first, okay? There is one other form of payment that the system accepts, which is accounts. Basically, this means that you're able to give store credit to your customers. This is a really good feature if you want to maybe have layaway plans and things like that. And I'll show you later on the terminal. Again, this is already an existing store, so I do have the account enabled. All right, but I'll show you how you can actually do that. And you can add, new methods as well. For example, you can see on the terminal, I have Venmo as a custom payment method. Now, the system doesn't communicate with Venmo. You still have to utilize, I believe Venmo is through an app, okay, to receive payment. But whenever you're ringing it up, you can actually choose Venmo and put in there, yes, it was fully paid, once you've confirmed on your phone or on whatever app, whatever device you're utilizing to manage Venmo, that you've received that payment. All right. Let me get out of this screen here. All right. For payments. And let me go back to the store portal. All right. We're almost done as far as setting up everything. All right. So I mentioned, pay in, pay out, right? You create the category for that. The other thing I want to mention is that because this is a cloud-based system, you're able to back up all your data on the cloud. Now, the system works independently of the cloud in the sense that, your data is stored locally. The cloud is used as a backup, but it's also an advantage if you've got multiple terminals, because they can talk to each other and they'll be able to update in case, you have a sale or anything like that. You're out of inventory, you're low in inventory. It'll tell the other terminal. It allows you to start a transaction on one terminal and finish it on another. We've seen, for example, furniture stores take advantage of this because they have their countertop terminal and they also have a portable terminal. Those are both available, and maybe they'll take a deposit on a piece of furniture, 50% deposit. But when it's delivered, the delivery person will have the portable terminal and be able to collect the difference there. They're able to process credit cards, take cash, and so forth. So it's a huge advantage having the cloud portal as a backup. The other advantage, of course, is that if the terminal goes down, it's very easy to replace. You just get your new terminal, assign it to your store, and it'll automatically download all of that information. Okay? All right, so that's pretty much it in that sense. Talk a little bit about a couple of other things. And for here, we're going to switch over to the actual terminal. Okay? Discounts and pricing. So you have a couple of things here in maintenance that I want to show you. First of all, let's talk about pricing. If you need to change or adjust pricing for your inventory and so forth, you can go to the global price change tool. And you have 3 different levels at which you can modify pricing. You can modify pricing for the whole inventory. You can modify pricings for a specific category, or you can select an actual item to modify the price with. And then you have 3 ways in which you modify the price. So 3 different levels of price modification, but then 3 different ways in which to modify the price, okay? The first one is to adjust the price itself. You can do specific dollar amount total. So let's say for a dollar store, I think the last couple of years we've had kind of a high inflation. So last time I went to a dollar store, I don't think anything was $1 anymore. It's like $1.15. So you can set the price for everything in your inventory at $1.15. You can increase the price by a specific percentage, or you can decrease the price as well by a specific percentage. Okay, I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon here. The second way to change pricing would be through adjusting either the profit or the gross margin. Okay, and this is percentage based, right? So profit or gross margin. And then the third way in which you can adjust pricing would be to round the price. You can either round it up or down, and you can round it to 0.95, 0.99, or 0.00. Okay, any one of these. And that'll do for whatever level of items you've selected, the whole inventory, specific category, or specific item. All right. So again, this is a tool that you're going to use here on the terminal more than you would utilize on the portal. All right. The second pricing item I want to talk about is special pricing, which is basically how you conduct a sale. Okay. Let's go here on special pricing. And we're going to select, I already have a couple of items that are under sale. So we'll do the baseball hat that's already there. You have 3 ways in which you can conduct a sale. You have your standard sale, which starts on a specific date. It ends at a specific date, date and time, actually. All right. And you can set an actual dollar amount, or you can set a percentage off. Okay. The second way you can conduct a sale would be through what's known as bulk pricing. And this is your 2 for 1, 3 for 1, things like that. Okay. And you can set either a dollar amount as well or percentage. Now, full disclosure here, on our system, once the customer reaches that threshold, let's say you do 2 for 1. So the customer has 2 items on at the cash register. Any additional item is going to come at the same discount price. All right. So 2 for 1 is basically 50% off. So if you buy 5 items, when you have it set to 2 for 1, all 5 items are going to be at 50% off. Okay. So if you want to manage that, if you want to limit that, you have to limit it at the cash register. Okay. The third way in which you can conduct a sale would be through time-based pricing. The third one here. And this is like a regular sale, a regular weekly sale. So the example I'm using here is a convenience store that sells milk. Maybe they receive their milk shipment every Friday. And on Thursdays, you want to run a sale maybe from 12 o'clock until closing. Once you set it, it's going to continuously run that same price during that day and those hours until you actually disable it again. Okay. So 3 ways in which you can conduct sales and provide a discount price. Okay. The other item I want to mention here under maintenance is the price level. This is what you would utilize for specific groups, like let's say veterans and things like that. Now, again, if you go here on the POS settings, you do have the special pricing option, okay, where you can set that here. It's the one I just showed you a minute ago as far as the 3 ways, but I like doing it better on the actual POS, okay. But for price level, the person would have to be registered on the system in order to receive that discount. Now, if somebody comes up to your register and says, hey, I'm a veteran, but they're not on your system, it's very easy to add them at the time of checkout. The system really only requires the first name, even though we encourage you to get more information so that maybe you can do a little bit of marketing, things like that. And then you can also choose either specific product, okay, all the products if you want, okay, a specific category as well, or even a price range. You can say, all right, I'm going to give any veterans a 10% discount for any product that's, for $0 to $25, for example. So again, it's very flexible, and you can have as many price levels as you'd like. Okay. All right. Up next, I want to talk a little bit about customers. All right. So you have two ways in which you can manage customers, right? You can manage them through their store portal here. Okay, we go to customer maintenance. And here is where you would set also your price level if you want to do it here on the back end. Okay. And specific product discounts as well. But on here is where you can manage your customers. Now, this store is blank, so it doesn't have any customers on here. You can add them here, or you can add them on the portal. Now, let me show you on the terminal. Let me show you on the terminal side what this looks like. And by the way, I haven't mentioned this yet, but your system does accept local gift cards, and we do work with some vendor-based gift cards, depending on what processor you're using. It may be compatible or not. But this is where I really want to focus on customers. And I'm actually, for this store, I do have a pretty long list of customers here. I always like to use this testing guy here. Okay. So again, you have all the personal information. The terminals do have a camera, so you can even take a picture of your customer. This is good for, if you're providing store credit and things like that, you can even have a picture of the customer to make sure you don't have any imposters or things like that come into the store. And here on their account is where you're going to find the two features that I mentioned earlier. One of them is the credit account. So you can actually choose how much credit you want to give your clients. You manage that as you wish. There's nothing preset. Okay. And then the client can choose how they're going to pay back at the store. Any payment method that you accept you'll be able to apply it here. And you can also see the history of that client in case that they are using their credit line for any reason. You can see when they've actually used the credit to charge stuff, when they've made any repayment back. Okay, you can go back through the whole history for that customer. And then the second feature I want to mention here is the loyalty. So we mentioned it's a points-based system. Okay, you do have the ability. You can see when they've added points. Okay, you can also see when I've adjusted, because you can adjust your points manually, and I'll show you where to do that on the web portal. Okay, you can see when they've used points as well. I even gave him, I think I gave him a gift of 25,000 points like back in 2022. Yeah, here it is, October 2022. So the adjustment of the points is actually done here under the store portal. You go to customer maintenance. Now, again, I don't have any customers here. But once you add a customer, okay, and let me just put first name. As I said, it only requires them the first name, really. All right, enable and all that stuff. You save the customer. And then because this store is enabled for loyalty points, you can adjust the value and say, all right, you know what, Mr. Client, I'm going to give you 500 loyalty points. Now the customer has a 500 loyalty point value. And when you do have a list of your clients, you can actually export them. And, maybe you can use a mail merge or something like that and be able to send emails and things like that as well. Remember, you can even store their birth date. So again, because it exports in Excel, it's fully compatible with Microsoft Office. So you can utilize a mail merge to kind of manage that relationship as well. All right. All right. Up next, I want to talk about employee management. I talked a little bit about that before. Okay. And we're going to look at that here on the terminal. Kind of close out of here. I had mentioned that when you log in, you can have an employee. I'm going to log off. I'm logged in as the administrator right now. I'm going to log off as the administrator, and I want to show you what it looks like when I require an employee to clock in when they log in. So I have this set for the person who's at the front counter. So when they log into the system, okay, now the system will automatically go into the time card screen because they have to clock in. Okay, so it welcomes me. If you have a scanner, a barcode for the employee, they'll be able to scan it right at that input screen that I showed you earlier. All right. But now they're clocked in, and now they can go ahead and run any transactions. Let's say that they're in the sales screen. Okay. You're all probably familiar with the sales screen, and somebody else comes in. If they're in the middle of ringing something up, they can just hold the order using the held orders and then go here and say, all right, co-worker, go ahead and clock in. And when the co-worker says time card, again, if they have a barcode, they just scan it right here, or they can manually input their information. All right. And that person who was already logged in can continue doing whatever they were doing. So they don't have to actually log out in order to do that. Okay. And then once you're done in the store portal, you can go to your employee management, right? US users. And then you can export your time card as well. Okay. You choose what day. You can do the default 7, 30, or 90 days. and that'll have your hours included in there. And it's an Excel format, so that's usually compatible with any payroll processing software or any payroll processing company. All right. Let me log out of my terminal here and log back in as the administrator. Okay, yes, I want to clock out. And by the way, when the employee who's clocked in logs off the terminal, it'll give them an option to clock out or not. So again, you know, if somebody's just logging off because another employee needs to use the terminal for sales purposes and things like that, they can still remain clocked in. And the other thing that the clock in function, with the time card function does, shoot, log me out. Let me go ahead and log back in. One of the other things that the time card function does is that it also controls or registers your breaks. Okay, so you can actually you know, do a break start and break finish. See, you go to the terminal, log back in, and that's also going to be registered on the system, you know, and it's going to be taken into account when the system is calculating how many hours worked. Okay, all right, let me go ahead and accept here. So I just want to show you on the time card feature here what that start a break and end a break looks like. Okay, so again, you go to time card, and then well, I guess I'm not clocked in. I got to be clocked in. Let me clock in here as the admin here. Yeah, I can't start a break if I'm not clocked in, right? All right. So now you can, you know, start break, end break, and do all that stuff. Okay. I'm gonna log out of here. Okay. Perfect. All right. So up next, I want to talk a little bit about the reports. So you've got some reports that are on the terminal itself. Zoom in a little here. You've got some reports that are on the terminal itself. Okay. So a couple of things, all right, you want to see. You get your end of day here, where, you know, I don't have any transactions today for this store in particular. Okay, but you do your end of day, and it's actually going to create a report. You can look at the history. You can go back. I don't think I've done any end of day recently. No, I have not. That's why I don't have anything on here. But normally that's where you would find that. Okay, and you can do your credit card settlement as well there. All right, so in case you're gonna, you know, do your batch and things like that, you of course want to do your tip adjustments. Okay, so that's one place where you're going to find some reports on the terminal. Okay, the rest of your reports on the terminal are going to be under the reports section here. And as you see, I mean, you've got a whole bunch of reports. So this is where you want to do your tip report. You take a look at it, print that if you want. And you know, you got your categories, report category, sales report, refund reason report. I mean, you have a lot of reports that are on here. But as many reports as you have on the terminal, you have a greater number of reports on the actual portal. Okay. First of all, you've got your pre-established reports. You got your bestsellers. You know what I'm going to do? Let me switch this, since we've already gone through the setting up of the terminal. Let me log into the store that we're using on the terminal, so this way you can see some data. Okay, because I mean, I think you're gonna like a lot of things you're gonna see from the reporting side. Let me log in as my reseller demo account, and then let me look for the actual store here, which is the Micro Mart. There we go. Let me log into that store. So now you have a fully functioning store that does have some data to back up. Okay, so go to reports. You got some pre-established reports. You've got your bestsellers report, which again, you can do a time range here, time frame. Let's say we're going to go back a couple of months to see what my bestseller was. Today was the 14th. So we're going to go from December 14th and see what your bestsellers are. Okay. You go to your low stock report. Now that one's automatic. Okay. It's going to actually show you for the day. Okay. I don't think I've got anything that's below now, because I've been doing some inventory updates here. Products that are never purchased. So again, you know, you can do a date range here. Say we go 2 months. What are the products that are never purchased? It'll reduce the items here. Okay. And then if you do email reports, you need to register your email that you're going to send the report to, and then the system's going to keep track of who receives those reports. Okay. But the bulk of your reports on the web portal are here on the transactions. This is what you would consider a dashboard. Okay, for your reports. And we're going to, again, go back couple of months. So you see more transactions. This one I use with quite a lot of frequency. So you're going to see plenty of stuff. It tells you how much I've sold in that time frame. And you've got each one of the transactions on here. And what's really nice about this is you can actually go into the transaction itself here. You can see what, what happened here, right? You can even see a copy of the receipts, okay? So even if you have like signature capture on the system, which it does support because our payment terminals are touch sensitive, then you would see on the receipt, you would actually see that customer's signature as well, registered, okay? And these are immediately uploaded. As soon as you run a transaction on the terminal, it'll immediately upload to this report section, okay? You can see if there was a discount or anything like that, if loyalty points earned, if there, if you're using loyalty points and so forth, okay? The other nice thing about this page here is that you can actually see the transaction. Now, in this case, they only bought one item. But let me go into more complex purchase here. It'll list everything, even if it didn't generate any revenue, okay? And then you can see the payment information. You're never going to be able to see like the full payment information because our system is semi-integrated to the payment terminal. So there's no risk of anybody, hacking into the POS and getting payment information. But you would see it was credit card, it would say credit, and you'll see the last 4 digits on here as well. All right. But this, like I said, is just the dashboard. The actual reports are listed here on their export, and you have 2 versions for each. So check out all the reports that you've got. You've got the transaction details, or transactions, payments, categories, customer, employee, tax, tips. We've added the refund reason report in the entry category details. And each one of these reports at the top, they come in 2 versions, detailed and the total report. So I want to show you just so you can see for one type of report, the example, the difference between the detailed report and the totals report. All right, so let's do transactions here. We're doing it for that same time frame, 2 months. The transactions Excel report, let me see where that comes up. It's coming up on the other screen. Let me move it over. Give me 1 second while it opens up. Okay, come on. Uh-oh. What happened? Here we go. Okay. It should be opening up here. All right, so you'll see that for this report, every transaction and everything that happened for every transaction will be listed. So on this purchase, for example, you see hot fudge, no whipped cream, regardless of whether it generates any revenue or not, it's going to be listed on here. Okay, and you can, if you use filters, you can actually put your filters up here and then sort them in any way that you want. Okay, I don't know how familiar you are with Excel. Okay, you can say, all right, you know what? I want to see everything that was done. I don't know, less than $1.66, whatever you want, or I want to see anything that had a surcharge or an upcharge or a discount, anything like that. Okay, or any items that actually have a SKU listed on there. So you can really kind of sort it and filter it in any way that you want. But if you don't want a report that's so detailed, then you're going to download the transactions totals report. And this just gives you a single line entry per item. It doesn't give you any detail as far as what products were purchased, but it will give you information about, that what was paid, if there was any discounts, taxes, and all of that stuff. And then it does give you the total sold during that time frame. Okay. Now, if you want to report similar to that, but not be able to modify it, you have the same reports listed under PDF. So you go on here. Now you can email it to somebody and, you're not risking, it's pretty much the same information. You're not risking that the data is going to be in any way corrupted. Okay. All right. So those are your reports again. You've got a pretty broad range of reports on both the terminal and on your web port. Okay. All right, so up next, I want to talk about inventory a little bit here. So we saw in the catalogs here, right, how you can add new products and so forth. And you know that we can do the same on the terminal itself. Let me go ahead and go back here. You go to inventory. You would add products here through the products function. Okay. You can pretty much do the same thing as you would do on the terminal. If you want to add categories, you would do it here. Okay. But there's a function on here that's really critical. Once you've uploaded your initial inventory, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that in 1 second, because you can actually use an Excel spreadsheet for doing that. Once you uploaded your initial inventory, Okay. Then you can actually use the inventory movement tool to manage that, and it's going to register anything that you do. All right. So how does it work? You go to inventory management, or inventory movement rather. Okay. You choose what items you're gonna increase or decrease in inventory. So for example, I can say, all right, bicycle. I can say Reese's peanut butter cups. I can say mineral water, or I can go to groceries and say potato chips. And then you choose on the left hand side, you choose each one. So right now I've got potato chips. I want to add 5 potato chips. Okay. I want to add I don't know, 10 mineral waters. Okay. I need to make an adjustment because I lost some peanut butter cups. So I'll show you how to do the out purchase in a minute. But in this case, never mind. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of peanut butter cups here. 5. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of more bicycles. Okay. 2. All right. And then you just submit, and all those items are going to be added. But if you have to make an adjustment down because maybe you had some losses and things like that, okay, same thing. You choose your items here. Peanut butter cup. I know I'm repeating some of the items that I just added. Let's say potato chips. Let's say books. And you change this from in purchase to out movements. Okay. And then you say, all right, I actually have 5 books less. I've got 39. I don't have that many. I've got, 6 less of the potato chips, and I've got 5 less of the peanut butter cups. Okay. You submit movement, and these are going to appear on your transactional report. Okay. So you can see them, and they're going to appear as inventory movements. So that's a very important way to manage your inventory, because you can always go into the products and modify your inventory there or on the web portal actually. Okay. But that doesn't register anything. Okay. It's all kept there. And I was going to show you the template that we have, and that you can utilize not only to upload your initial inventory, but even to make additional changes. Okay. So give me 1 second here. Let me look for my reseller account, demo account. Go with that. Let me log into the store real quick. Okay, we're getting the micro marks here. Search, and let me log into the store. All right. So again, this, you as a merchant, as a store owner, as the business owner, that's what you would see. And on here, let me go ahead and share my screen on the terminal. I apologize. You know how it is with technology sometimes. It just kind of throws up. Okay. It's time to upgrade my computer. Okay, so I'll go ahead and accept to share my screen, zoom in, and then we should be ready to go. All right, but the next section actually is going to be more on the web portal than it is on the actual terminal. Okay, let me zoom in. Perfect. So I was talking about the template that you can use to import your initial inventory. Oh, sorry. I said there's a simple and a complex. The complex has attributes. The simple just has the products, right? So I wanted you to see what that simple template looks like and give you an idea on how else you can even leverage this item here. Sorry, I want to show you simple with data. My bad. How you can leverage the template itself. Okay. And this is really good, especially if you have a very extensive product catalog, hundreds or thousands of items. Our system does support thousands. We got, I couldn't tell you if there's a limit, because we've got beauty supply stores that have 25,000 different items. So what you can see here, this is a template for an Asian quick serve restaurant. Okay, this is fried tofu. All right. And you got all the information here, but let's say that, you're modifying something. For example, maybe you're modifying a category. Okay. You have a number of items that are all in one category, but now you want to create separate categories for each item. You can download your whole inventory. Okay. You can just go to export and download the whole inventory. Okay. And then you can select, again, because it's Excel, you can put some filters up here and select specific category that you want to modify. And then change all the categories for those items that you want to change the categories to and upload again. And it's not going to duplicate your items. It's going to read the name of the item. It's going to say, hey, it's already on the system, but it's going to see that it has a different category on there. And it's going to upload those automatically. So again, it's a tool that cannot only be used for your initial inventory upload and making it easier for you, especially if you have an extensive category, but it can also be utilized for you to modify your existing inventory, especially when it's a very big modification, tedious, you know? Otherwise, you're gonna have to go into each item one by one and modify it. Well, this tool allows you to actually do a blanket modification a lot quicker than if you would have to do it one by one, okay? Make sure that everything's good here. All right, good. All right, so really we're on the final stretch. I thought this was going to take a little longer, but I have to see, we may have missed some of the questions. All right, so if you did write any questions during the the first part of the training, please I'd ask that you repeat them again in case I have not responded to those yet. All right. All right, so what I want to do is I want to go into the actual sales screen and show you some of the functionalities here. All right, so if you have a countertop unit, it's going to look like this. You see, you've got pictures that are painted on that I've loaded on there and so forth, right? It's going to have your catalog on the left, on the right hand side. And it's going to have your shopping cart on the left hand side. If you have a handheld unit like an A920 or an E600 or E600 Mini, because the screen is not it's in portrait mode, you're not going to be able to fit both of these on the same screen. So you would find a little toggle button at the bottom that allows you to toggle between the menu, all right, or your catalog and the shopping cart. And you'll be able to see then in detail each one of these. All of them have the same buttons across the top, but of course, the ones that have the portrait mode don't have as many. So you have to kind of keep toggling, going back and forth, kind of navigate a little bit more, all right? So the first thing I want to point out is our system doesn't integrate with any type of a delivery service, such as Uber Eats, DoorDash and things like that. But you are able to distinguish the order, what type of order it is. In case you have a quick serve place, you can choose, hey, is this a pickup order? Is it a delivery? Is it a takeout? Is it a dine-in? Okay. So you can choose each one, and then when you order it, if it's let's say a delivery, it'll have the address printed on the actual receipts. Okay. The other thing that you can do is if you have a customer that that they're coming in and you want to kind of track their purchases, get the loyalty points, maybe they have specific discount for price level, veterans and things like that, you can recall the customer here. All right. But if it's a customer that's not on your list already, it's not on your database already, and they say, hey, I'm a vet, and you want to add them quickly, you have this add customer quickly button here, which basically, it just requires the first name. Even though you have an asterisk next to last name, once you input the first name, once you input that first name, you'll see that the asterisk goes away, okay, for the last name. So you can also do that as well, all right? We're going to go ahead and close out of there. All right, I'm actually going to pull up a customer that I know already, which is a testing guy. All right, we're going to go ahead and do it under him. And again, I've got his address on file. So if I choose add order and I say, hey, this is going to be delivery, it's already going to have their address listed on there. So you go ahead and continue the sale. Okay. Another thing I want to show you on here, okay, is that if you have an item that's not in inventory, okay, and you want to provide you want to add it onto the inventory, you have an inventory function that's built right into the sales screen, right? Which is right up here on the top left. So you go in here and you can either do a search to see if it is in the inventory, but it's probably not. If you don't have, if you scan that SKU, if you use SKUs and it doesn't come up, then it's not part of the inventory. You can add product quickly. Now, this is a very shortened version of what you would normally do and as far as adding products, okay? But it just makes it a lot easier if you want to add a product there. Now, if you want to not add a product, but actually just put something in manually, you go to category entry here on the top right, okay? And then you can input, the price, the product name. If you have a category that's been activated to be on here. And again, this is a really good feature for convenience stores. Okay, I didn't activate all my categories on the system. All right, but I can say, I don't know, driver's ed, whatever that may be. Okay, now this is not going to add it to inventory. This is only a manual entry, as I understand. Some some convenience stores actually will want that. They don't actually want to add it at the time. But if you want to add it, then you use the inventory function. Okay, you can even put some notes on it and you add products. Okay, and that'll be added on. All right, we can go back to the menu by clicking on menu here. Okay, and show you something else here. There's a couple of ways that you can provide discounts. Let's say you want to provide a discount for a single item, even though the person is going to buy multiple of those items. You can say, all right, you know what? I'm going to give you a 50% discount on your first Snickers bar. You see it's populated on here. You slide it to the right, and then you give them the discount for that particular item. Okay, it could be cash, could be percentage. And then you can add more Snickers bars. I'm going to add 3 more, and those are going to be at the regular price. Okay, or you can do a full discount for what's in the cart. You go to discount here, and then you can do a percentage off. You can do a cash discount if they already have a customer discount, like a price level. Or you can do a discount after their customer, or you can have, a coupon discount where, activate it on here and you put in there whatever the coupon remark may be. Okay. Now, supposing that a customer comes up to the cash register and maybe they forgot their wallet, you have the ability to hold an order as well. Just go to hold. Now, because I'm already under this customer's profile, it'll have his name on there, but normally this is blank and you can put whatever customer name you want on. Okay. And then you're going to recall it using that same button for held orders. Okay. If you want to go ahead and run a refund, okay, you can do it right from here. Or you can actually go to the refund report and do it from the transaction itself. Right. It allows you to do both. All right. Also, in terms of printing, if it's an item that you want to print before you actually pay for, you just, activate the print. You can choose the current order, and it'll actually print that current order as you desire. Okay. And then one final thing, really, and wow, I guess we're pretty much done here, is you can assign an item to be tax exempt at the individual product level, or if you want to do that at the time of bringing it up, then you just tap on here, tax exempt. And you can choose which tax you're going to exempt the customer with. Okay. Now, in this store, I only created one tax rate, which is the local tax. I didn't create anything for tax 2 and 3. So you would choose which one you're gonna actually exempt the customer from. I know that some states, if you do deliveries and things like that, it'll actually exempt you from taxes. All right. If you need to, open up a cash drawer without a sale, you've got a cash drawer button here. You can enable or disable that. Okay. So you can have an employee, maybe it only opens up if they actually do a transaction. Okay. Lock your screen. You've got some vendor coupons as well on here. Okay. And then if you want to clear the cart, you've got your cart clearing option here. Or if you're going to actually search for an order, you got your search order button over here. Okay. It could be done by a phone number. If the person brings in a receipt, you can actually scan it. Or if you have any information, you click OK, and it's going to give you a greater range what you want. Go to filter, and then you can put here by date, if it's a customer, if it's been paid or not, what order type, for example, was this delivery, pickup, and then of course, as I said before, if it's paid or not. Okay, you could do search for the transaction. Okay, but we're already running the transaction here. All right, so as a final topic here is the actual payment part. All right, our system does support a way to do the tender, split tender. Okay, so you can do it not just 2, but you can do as many as you want. Okay, now for this store, I've got several ways of payments. Right, so you got your cash, of course. You have an EBT, and it'll figure out what portion of your shopping cart you're going to be able to pay or not. Okay, you got, of course, credit card, check. I don't have gift cards applied here, but I do have both account and loyalty. So if I choose, for example, account, it's going to tell me what the outstanding balance for that customer is and what they've got available for purchase. And as you can see, they could actually cover that easily. If I choose loyalty, okay, it's going to show me how many points I've got, or how many points actually how many points I can actually use on day 16, 13. All right. And what I've got accumulated on here as well. But like I said, I can do split tender. So I can do, for example, let's do cash $5, for example. Okay. I'll pay that. Okay. Now I've got $11 left. I'll say, let's do credit. We're going to do, I don't know, let's do another $5 for credit. Okay, I'll pay. It asks me to input. Now you're not going to be able to see the screen because it's on the other side of the terminal. Okay. And it's running on here. And say okay. I'll sign it on here. Say accept. Okay, now I can remove my card. All right. And I've got $6 left for payment. And then I can say, you know what? I'm going to charge the remainder to my account. I'll go ahead and pay doing that. The system also will prompt you for maybe printing in a different printer. Okay. Maybe emailing the customer. Because I'm logged in under this customer testing guide, it'll bring up their email address. But you can modify that. Just tap in the field here. You can change that to whatever you want. And we're going to go ahead and send that. Okay. All right. So I want to show you what it looks like. Oh, shoot. Okay, kick me out of the store. Let me log back into the store here. I want to show you what it looks like on the receipts. Okay. Okay, let's see here. We've got the micro store here. Log into the store. And normally you don't have to do all that stuff. You just log right into the store. So I can go to report, transactions. You should have the latest transaction, right? 1694. Now I can view that transaction and I can view the receipt. And as I said, the transactions, those are transmitted immediately. Okay. There's no wait time for the transaction. So as you can see on here, it even captures my signature. Okay, that's what I put in as a signature on here, as I said, because I do have it set up for signature capture, right? So it gives me the customer's information because it is a delivery. Okay, so it prints out, as I said, the receipt with the full information, tells you what I purchased. Okay, and then it tells me, how I paid it. Okay, so as you can see, I did, $5 with a credit card, I did $5 of cash, and then of course my credit account was the remainder. Okay, all right. So with that, pretty much that fulfills the end of the training. You want to then go into our questions here. Let's see. Do we have any questions on here? All right. Hani, working on integration. I'm not sure what kind of integration you're referring to. In the morning count to the till, closing at the end of the day. If you can, Hani, if you can go ahead and give me a little more specifics about the integration question, all right, please, while I respond to the other questions as well. So what you would do for the cash count, you would use pay in and pay out for cash count, right? So beginning of the day, you have no cash in the drawer. Our system does not support, even though you do have a notes section where you can put in, 520s and so forth. You can do it in the notes, but it's not going to be something that's pre-programmed into the system. But you can put how much cash you received and then how much cash you're taking out at the end of the day. All right. No delivery integration. No. So not at this time. It does distinguish whether it's going to be delivery or pickup or dine in and so forth. But it's not going to be integrated to any system right now. And I know that Uber Eats and DoorDash for any quick serve, any restaurant that actually does delivery but is not integrated, is not using a POS with integration, they provide you with a little tablet and everything goes in through there. Okay. KDS, honey, not sure I'm familiar with what that is. Can you clarify that as well? What is KDS? It allows you to have a kitchen printer, but not an actual kitchen display. No, that's not available at this time. All right. So any other questions? Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for for coming on the session today. Provided you with the contact information for our tech support team. You should be receiving a user guide in case you have any other any other areas you want to look at. And again, we'll have these sessions on the first Wednesday of every month. If you need any additional training, we do have one-on-one sessions, which again, your merchant processor can sign you up directly. All right, it's you and an instructor, and pretty much Monday through Friday, any time of your office hour time. All right. So again, everybody, thank you so much for joining, and have a great rest of the day.